Hello. So this is my Godslayer run, and I would like to quickly go through what we're doing here. So I'm just streaking forward to open the door. You don't really need to do that. Let's get into the fight. So first trash fight. Any trash fight that you can, you should always try to precast your skills. So that is regardless of what the current best skills are, what the current best sets are. If you can cast something before the combat starts, like you can see me use Blade Cloak, you can see me use Hurricane, because those skills are cast on me, not on the enemies or not on the ground. You should do that before combat. So I do that, and then I start casting my dots, so Lightning Flood, Orb, and Wall. Currently I am running Burning Spellweave, you can see the proc here. But I don't know if that will always be a good meta set for trash fights, but yeah, that is what I'm currently running. So I proc it there, and they drop the Fiery Rage ultimate, and then we swap to front bar, and you start spamming whatever your spammable is. So this is always going to be, you do your pre-buff, pre-casting dots, and then place down your dots, and then swap to whatever your spammable is and spam that skill. So right here, that is going to be the Wearing Blades. That what it's called? I think it's called Wearing Blades. Everybody calls it Spin to win. Next wave spawns. So again, place down your dots. You see I don't refresh the orb anymore, and I don't refresh the hurricane because it's just not worth it at this point. They would not last long enough. They do need to last at least 5 or 6 seconds for them to actually be worth casting. Hurricane even more. Orb is not a very strong dot, so I only cast the Wall of Elements and Lightning Flood. So you also need to take into consideration how much damage your dots are doing, and if they're not doing too much, they're not worth recasting if they want to last long enough, because we are going to kill this very quickly. I basically only recast. You see, it's been what about 5-6 seconds, and the enemies are dead. Now I have a little bit more time because the cats are coming in from a further away distance, so I make sure I precast my dots completely, and we start spinning. In this pool, really the only dangerous enemy is the white cat. You need to make sure you're not standing in front of it, because if it swipes and you get hit by the lightning, you will die. So the white cat is the most dangerous. Also, when the two cats in the beginning jump into the group, you need to make sure to block that. If both jump at the same time, you are likely to die as well if it's unblocked. If you block it, you are going to be fine. So we head over to the next pool. And again, just precasting the dots. Kill the cat. See that swipe that just hit the tank? If that hits you as a DD, you are very dead. As we wait for the second wave to spawn, again we precast the dots. I have enough ultimate to drop it now. I personally don't like dropping ultimate on the second wave because it takes... I feel it doesn't really benefit us, because how quickly this wave dies is highly dependent on how quickly the small ads get chained. So you see there's like this little archer here, there's a little mender. So those guys are determining when the next wave will spawn. We don't need to focus the high health Cinch Rat, the big cat. This cat can still stay alive. It actually died here, but even if we just killed those two small ads first and the big cat was alive, the next wave would spawn. So that's why I don't really like using my ult here, because the damage you do doesn't really matter too much. However, if I were to cast my ult on the third wave, in this specific group, I would not have enough ultimate for the boss. Okay, so it depends on how you time, and this will all come down to practice, and it is dependent on the group, also how much ult generation we have. For example, in this group we did not have Pillager on trash. Some groups will be running the Pillager set, which gives you more ult. So that means you would be able to cast ult more frequently. Here I don't, because I wouldn't get enough for the boss. So from this point onwards, I'm just trying to save ult, and I had to drop it on the second wave. So third wave is here. There's also the two-hander. That one is a bit dangerous. The Alkosh will, so make sure you do not stand in front of him, because he will start sweeping, and the sweeps will kill you. If you're in front of him, you can also try to block. If you block the sweeps, you can take a few. You can take maybe 2 or 3 hits, and then you will have to roll dodge out. If you don't block them, you will get staggered, and you will die very quickly. So just make sure if you're close to those cats, you can try to block. If you're not sure if you're in front of it or not, but ideally you would be standing behind. There is an issue with them. Sometimes they jump behind the group, so you have to be very careful about that. Also about the white cats. Sometimes they will jump behind the group. If you see the white cats or the two-handers, the whales jump behind the group, you have to move backwards as well. Make sure you are behind those cats and behind those two-handers. Okay, I quickly changed my gear there to Mora's Whispers because I wanted to try them. Mora's Whispers is a fairly decent set, or a decent mythic for this patch, so that's what I run. I drop my dots here again. You see the two-handers are jumping behind the group. So what I'm doing right now is if they jump, there's one on the left, that is fine. But both on the left actually, so that is fine. Sometimes they will jump behind the group. If they do, just make sure you're paying attention to them. You see the cat on the two-hander on the left is starting to sweep now. Just make sure you're not standing in front of that. And you're going to be fine. This is actually a fairly tricky pull. There's 2 white cats, 2 two-handers, very dangerous enemies. Lots of wipes here, lots of resets on Godslayer pro groups. So we're nearing the boss. What I'm doing is I swap to my boss setup. I'm losing a lot of video quality here. Sorry about that. That is just it's not your internet. That is a low quality video recording that I have that I'm rewatching now. So swapping to the setups, what I'm using here is I'm using Coral Riptide, which is a set that will increase your damage the lower you are on your stamina. So that's why you may have seen me draining my stamina there. I wanted to make this guide more general for any set for the future. So whatever set you're using, if you can pre-buff, if you can do whatever that set requires you to do before the pull, do that. So this set specifically requires me to drain my stamina, so I'm doing that. You can also cast skills before the pull that do not draw aggro. So you can see me cast both my pets, my hurricane. Ideally, I would be casting Blade Cloak as well. I drop my Atro and Blade Cloak. So I try to cast Blade Cloak as late as possible because that is kind of your most significant dot, and I won't be refreshing it. So I want to ensure I have that as the longest duration. One thing I forgot to mention, on that final trash pull just before this boss fight, I intentionally do not drink a potion to ensure my potion is ready now. What I do is I drain my stamina completely to 0, and then I drink a potion, and my stamina goes up to about 28%. So the Coral Riptide set caps at its maximum effectiveness at 33% stamina. In this current patch, there might be some changes in the future, but right now, if you're below 33%, you are using the set to its maximum potential. That's what I'm trying to do here. I cast Prey, Trap, and that's all of my dots sticking, and we have just started the fight. Right, so always try to precast any dots you have. This is not just for sorcerers, this is for any class. Anything you can cast before the fight, you do that. And now we're fighting. I'm trying to take synergies. I'm kind of trying to avoid the healing combustion because it shares the same cooldown with the damage combustion if you want to do a little bit more damage. You can try to avoid that synergy. However, I have noticed if you're really trying to delay the synergies, it's not very good because the healing combustion seems to take priority over other synergies, and it will be showing up on your screen, and then you get no other synergies. Okay, so there's a lot of synergies that will deal damage, and you want to make sure you take those. If you're delaying the healing combustion, then you will never get access to those other synergies. So I feel like just using the healing combustion or shards is usually better, even though it doesn't deal any damage, but you get to see other synergies. We have Pillage right here, so I get to actually cast Dawnbreaker. I'm not refreshing any dots because the dragon is about to fly, so this is another thing you need to keep pay attention to. The dragon flies at 80%, 50, and 20% of its health. So pay attention to its health. Try not to refresh any dots if he's about to fly, apart from your highest priority dots. I noticed that if your main tank is doing a good job, they will bait the dragon breath at a good time, ideally trying to skip a tomb mechanic or an Atronach spawn if your DPS is high. So the breath animation takes about 6 or 7 seconds. I'm not entirely sure, but I noticed that even if the dragon is about to fly and he's nearing the 80% threshold, if he's just starting his breath animation, you can actually even cast Prey, which is a 6-second dot, because it will last through its full duration. So that's very nice. So you can see he's breathing now. I believe I cast Prey. He just starts his breathing animation, so I cast Prey. It might be tight, and I cast Blade Cloak as well, because that is a strong dot. So always keep in mind what are your strong dots, which dots are building up. For example, Hurricane is a dot that takes time to build up because it starts at low damage and it gets increasingly higher. So if it's just going to be a 6-second duration on the fight, I don't want to cast that. Okay, so I only cast Blade Cloak because it's strong, mainly for the enchantment procs, because it will proc your backbar enchant, and then it will also, I'm using Black Rose dual wield daggers, so that gives you an extra buff. So if you're using an arena weapon, generally your weapon skill on your backbar will be worth it to cast. And now I'm just casting my spammables. The dragon is about to fly. I might actually, yeah, I actually see that Prey is about to pop in 0.2 seconds, but the dragon is out, so I was very slightly late with that Prey, so that Prey was actually not worth casting. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. It was very slightly late, so it would have been better for me to just keep using spammable instead. Dragonflies, I will actually rewind that just to ensure you see the entire process. So pay attention to what I was saying. Both the pets, Blade Cloak, Storm Atronach before the fight. You actually don't have to. Sometimes it's better to just cast Prey first and then drop the Storm Atronach, because it will amplify the impact damage of the Atronach landing. However, I noticed that there's a bit of an issue where the Atronach has a delay of 5 seconds before it actually starts attacking, and if the fight phase is very short, the Atronach might not get enough time, and there will also be... There's also things like buffs and debuffs on the enemy that will generally happen earlier in the fight. So for example, Exploiter, if you're using the Exploiter, the enemy will be off balance for a short duration and they're taking more damage in the earlier stages of the fight. So it's actually a little bit better to cast that Atronach early to ensure you get that earlier duration as well. Okay. I mean earlier damage buffs. I mean, see me casting Dawnbreaker there as well, because that's an ult you can cast. You have enough ult. You will gain a lot of ult during the flight phase. You don't need to worry about that. Now we just kill the Atronachs. I believe we got the Atronach skip. So if you push enough damage, yeah, there's only 4 Storm Atronachs, so that means we got the skip. And therefore you don't need to focus too much. If you get the skip, if you have enough damage on the Atronach, you don't need to focus on it too much. And you see, I intentionally do not drink my potion here again. That is because if I were to drink it now, what would happen is as soon as the dragon lands, the potion would line up to be off cooldown at the same time as the combustion synergy is off cooldown. And that is bad. So I just drank the potion now, about 10 seconds before landing, just as the laser is starting. That way I can drain my stamina a little bit better, because if you get the combustion and the potion at the same time, you'll be brought up to about 45% max stamina, which is not ideal. Again, I'm doing the same thing. Before he lands, I'm precasting all of my spells. So if you see the timer landing in however many seconds, you will be able to cast. You think about how many skills you have to cast. So I know I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 skills to cast just before landing. So that's my Blade Cloak, Hurricane, Barb Trap, both the pets, and the Storm Atronach. So keep in mind that number of how many skills you need to cast. You can cast 1 skill per second. And then when it says landing in that amount of time, you start dropping your dots. So if for me, specifically for this fight, if I have 6 dots to cast, I will want to start casting them 6 seconds before landing. That's exactly what I do. I cast everything, drop my Atro, cast Blade Cloak, and there we go. Dragon is down, and we're ready to start spamming because every dot is already active. You step out of those AoEs there where the Atros are spawning. The Flame Atronach spits. Make sure you step out of those. They will kill. I'm keeping kind of low. I walk under the dragon there because of so what's it called? The mythic Sea Serpent's Coil. So Sea Serpent's Coil gives you a buff when you take damage when you're on full health. There is constant damage ticking here, but I believe it only happens once every 3 seconds. So I saw my major berserk was just about to run out. I didn't want to wait for that tick of frost aura or whatever it's called. I don't remember. Frostbite. I think it's frostbite. I just walk under the dragon to take 1 tick of damage to proc it a little bit earlier. You probably don't want to do that, to be honest. Again, I made a little bit of a mistake where I refreshed my dots too early. Too late, rather. So the dragon is at 51%. Actually, this was not my mistake. I believe this is a mistake of the tank, where the tank did not bait breath in time. So I actually refreshed my prey. It would have been okay if there was breath, but there was no breath. So yes, blame your tanks. Always blame your tanks if your DPS is low. It's never your fault, is it? Now we get the laser beam. I'm again going into my position. During the second phase, make sure you don't hit the Storm Atronachs because the beam comes early. And you don't want them to start executing in the second phase. Now we fight them after the beam. Before the beam, you basically just kill the Flame Atronachs, or you can place some dots on the Frost Atronachs as well. We'll kill those. We're kind of all over the place. I remember there was a bit of a... we're undecided on which side we're going to. We started on one side and we moved to another. Then but I just started listening to... Then everybody finally started listening to the raid leader. Hey, try to execute the low health Flame Atros. Sorry, Frost Atros. Now there's a little bit of an issue here. You see, we're a little slow with the Atros, and you can see the timer already landing in 7 seconds. Because we're a little bit slow here with the Atronachs, I did not get to do my pre-buff fully, so there's a little bit of a DPS loss there. But ideally, I would start casting all of my spells again. I don't need to cast the Tormentor again, because Tormentor only is effective if the boss is above 50% health. The dragon is now at 49, so Tormentor is not necessary. I only need 5 dots to precast. So I would want to cast the Volatile Familiar Pet, Hurricane, Barb Trap, Storm Atronach, and Blade Cloak. See, I'm a little bit late with those things. I would ideally refresh Blade Cloak just as he's about to land. But yeah, so tiny DPS loss there, not too huge of a deal. And also, yeah, I trap. So you want to try to precast that trap because you can just place it down early, and it's perfectly fine. Place down the trap early. It is just fine. the dragon will land and the trap will activate. That was a nice breath there. I believe we get the Atronax skip there, thanks to that breath. Okay, so the dots that I have on my back bar and on my front bar as well, I believe the Hurricane, Barbed Trap, actually the Hurricane and the Volatile Familiar Pet, they're worth casting if they last at least 10 seconds. The Trap needs a little bit less than that. I believe it might be around 6, I'm not entirely sure. I got staggered there, that was a bit scary. I was trying to roll dodge through the beam, but I was actually out of stamina, so pretty dangerous actually to be running this Coral Riptide set. Reliquin is a good alternative for the current patch, which is Firesong. So this fight is in the Firesong patch. Reliquin is a bit easier to manage. You don't need to be low on stamina. It was quite a danger there. I could have died, but thankfully I got saved by our healers. So if you don't want to be brought low on stamina, Reliquin is a very good alternative. But I personally prefer Coral Riptide because you can manage it and you can pre-buff. Reliquin takes some time to stack up. Okay, so we killed the last guy. I think we ignore that guy. Yeah, we ignore him. We just go back. Again, I was late to the dragon, right? I was late. I should have been there a few seconds earlier. We should have just kind of ignored the last Stormatronax. You don't need to kill them all. I should, when the dragon is landing, I should already have all of my dots active. You see my Atronak has not been dropped and Blade Cloak has not been dropped either, so those should be active before the dragon lands. So a bit of a scuffed parse by me here, but I think it's nice, especially to showcase that what kind of mistakes you can make. You want to try to block those meteors that drop in execute, and yeah, that's it. That's 47.5k for me. Not great, not terrible. Lots of mistakes that I have shown there. I will possibly add another video where I did a little bit better on the Locustes fight, so you can actually also see what the damage can look like. Okay, running ahead, just quickly killing these enemies. I'm not too worried about this damage right now because what we're interested in is we're waiting for the tank to bring up the last wave. So I'm kind of placing my dots here, but I'm not starting to spam. I just want to make sure I have the full duration. Now this is where we start bursting. As soon as everything is up here, that's when we want to start spinning. Again, I made a little bit of a mistake there, as you see. So right now what I should be doing is we're kind of just waiting, right? We're waiting and I should be precasting all of my skills. So I cast my Lightning Flood, Orb, and Wall of Elements a little bit too early. Okay, you see these guys just got here, and if you look at my dots, there's only 4 seconds left on them. Right? So in 4 seconds, those dots are going to expire. Now the dots have finished, but the ads are still alive. So I would probably still want to have those dots ticking at this point. I swap my setups, spawn my pets, and drain stamina. Before every fight, you kind of, if you're using Coral Riptide, you want to make sure you drain. So I have like a draining setup where I slot an expensive stamina skill, which is, I believe, Charging Maneuver, and you can drain that also with roll dodging. The Charging Maneuver, roll dodge is your best way to drain stamina. And then I'm just holding block to ensure my stamina is low, because when you're blocking, your stamina is not regenerating. And we pull. As soon as we hear the countdown, we start pre-buffing. And here we go. We've got 2 groups, focus fire on me. Kind of the same idea. You drop all of your dots. We got pillagers, so I try to. This is one tricky part right here, where I drop my ulti, and if you watch my ultimate here, it is going up, and then we get a pillager horn, and you see my ultimate jumps up. So the ultimate is showing, right now it's 77. It's showing just above the combat metronome bar, which is just above my health bar. So 77, and then I see my ult is going up quickly, right? 100, 120. So I try to cast Dawnbreaker as quickly as possible so I don't waste any ult. So I cast Dawnbreaker here, and you see I'm still gaining ult, right? I'm at 50 again, just after ulting. Dragon is going to fly, so Yonagrin flies at 75%, 50, and 25%. Keep those numbers in mind. That's the same idea here, but the thresholds are slightly different than on Locustes. So 78%. Again, I cast Prey here, which was a mistake. I shouldn't have cast Prey here because he's about to fly up. But we were a little bit slow with the damage, and he's casting a second flare. So in most fights in this group, we would not get a second flare, but because we're slightly slow, actually me casting Prey there was not damage loss. But I believe it was a mistake. I should not have cast it. It was a bit too late for Prey there. Now, if you have any sets to keep up, I know some people would use things like Advancing Yokida or Tsogvin. This is a good time to like keep hitting the Atronach there. However, I was running Pillar of Nirn, which is a set that will proc and then will go on cooldown for 10 seconds. So I intentionally stay on my back bar instead to ensure the set does not proc on the Atronach. I wanted to proc on the dragon. So, same idea, we're landing in a few seconds, so I precast all of my dots, and I keep hitting the Atronach, trying to keep up my Harpooner's waiting killed stacks. Right, so any sets that will stay and that are stacking up Tsogvin and Advancing Yokida are good examples. You want to keep hitting that Atro. And Dragon has landed. I drop my ulti, and here we go again. King Deeps. Refreshing my dots. Dragon is flying in 10%. Keep that in mind. Now, I could cast Dawnbreaker. Oh, I did actually. I did cast it. I think that may have been a mistake. I don't like casting Dawnbreaker there because it was a little bit too late. Now I'm going to be low on the ult and I'm not going to have enough ult for the second phase. I believe this may have been a mistake that Dawnbreaker was there at the end. Ideally, I would save ult for Atronach. Also keep in mind that I'm constantly draining my stamina. If I'm too low, I just spam my expensive stam skills, which is Blade Cloak or even Roll Dodge, but it's a bit dangerous to be dodging when there's a big fire AoE, so maybe I just keep casting Blade Cloak. If you're managing stamina with Coral Riptide, you will also want to make sure you time your potions and your synergies properly. You can also bash weave. So you don't want to bash between. You don't want to bash when you're casting a channel skill. So that would be Rapid Strikes that I have there. That is a channel skill, and also Crystal Fragments if you're hard casting them. That will be like, it has a cast time. I'm not sure if it's a channel. I don't think it's a channel, but it's a skill that has a cast time. So you don't want to bash at that time because you would cancel that skill. However, I will bash, for example, after Prey or after a pink crystal frag. So when it procs, you can bash after it if you need to drain a little bit more of your stamina. Now we're gonna execute. This is my last dot refresh. I'm not casting Prey there. I should cast Prey there. I think that was enough time to cast Prey there, so that was a bit of a mistake. But yeah, so no more refreshing. We're just spamming at this point, and the dragon is dead. So 92.6k DPS. That was a good fight for me. Locustes wasn't very good. This one was a bit better. Still some mistakes. Still some mistakes. It could be even better. We're going to the next rush fight. Kind of doing two things here. There's two waves, so for the first wave, we stay here, the cats get turned around. This one isn't too dangerous. Still have to be careful about the double jump. See that double jump just happened of the two cats? If both of them hit you and you're not blocking, you will die. So just make sure you're blocking there. And there's also the Furies, the unarmed cats, the Furies, which will sometimes get what is it called? Furious sweeps, I think? No. But they have a cone attack um, that is in front of them, so just make sure you're standing behind them. The rest you don't have to stand behind. You can be in front of them. The cats, that's fine. The brown cats, that is. So next wave. The Furies can be dangerous, especially when they're doing the AoE channel. So they start channeling, and there's like a growing AoE underneath them. It is not an interruptible channel. I'm just saying that because you can kind of see it growing. You want to try to stay away from that, or at least block it. I don't know if blocking actually helps. It might like stagger you if you don't block or something like that. But ideally, if there are multiple Furies casting that AoE at the same time, there's like 3 or 4, and you stay in it, you can actually die. So just be a little bit careful there, and your best bet is to walk away. Like if you see them with those AoEs, you just sprint away from them, or especially if you're low on stam. Sometimes you will get low on stamina here and you cannot block. So just if you're low on stam, just back away. You don't need to be in that fight all the time. Just back away. And I'm even using like some stam regen skills with that dark conversion. Yeah. So those AoEs, if you see me slightly walk backwards. If you stay too close to them, you're going to die to that. Just gotta be careful there. There's that cone attack I was talking. And now we go. Sometimes you will get slowed down here if that not sure where it's coming from. I believe there's a cone attack from the archers that will slow you down a lot, and also from the Furies slow you down. So if you're slowed down, you can just roll dodge to avoid the movement speed debuff. Yeah, I save my ult actually for the second wave in this room because I believe that's the most dangerous wave. So the first wave only has 2 cats. That's fine, and some small ads, kind of just shooting things. Make sure you block the cat jumps. If you don't block the jumps, you will get knocked back, and you're very likely to fall down into the hole to your death if you get knocked back. Just always make sure you're blocking those jumps. You really, really need to be. Here's the second wave, so that's when I drop my ulti. So there's 2 cats coming in, and 2 two-legged cats. So there's 4 large enemies here on the second wave. That's why I like to save my ult here. Make sure they die quickly. And then just small ads in those. Now, a lot of people like to stay on that, whatever that is. There's a little bit of a curb. We're down below the curb, but some people like to stay on it. When you're walking off the curb, just make sure you're holding block to slow yourself down. Because if you have like a lot of movement speed buffs, what has happened to me and a few other people in the group before is if you like sprint off the edge, it throws you really far away, and like just that little edge that is in there. You see now you can actually see very clearly. Let me see. We just post here. Like if you're sprinting in this direction fast and you walk off that edge, I actually just like got thrown all the way down into the hole down here. Like it just flies you over if you have a high movement speed. So that's why I recommend just blocking there all the time to ensure you're moving slowly. Because when you're midair, you cannot really control your movement. Okay, so second last trash fight. We go, there's just one big cat. I don't think I've ever seen anyone die here, unless there was a missed taunt. This is now someone's gonna die here and they're gonna message me like, oh, you were wrong. But it's just one four-legged cat and it's brown, it's not white, so it's okay. The white ones are more dangerous. We walk through the door. I'm swapping to Stormfist really quickly because normally I would run Baylurk, but since I'm not dropping ultimate, I just quickly swap my sets. Okay, so there's the cats. Spin to win. I also see Acuity effect, so Acuity is kind of nice for this one trash fight. It's literally the only trash fight I use Acuity for. Everything else I'm running Soul's Stormant with Burning Spellweave and more as Whispers. Now I'm a Portal DD. I think Sorcerers are the best suited for Portal. They have high single target DPS. They're not gonna do too much upstairs when there's a lot of AoE damage requirement. Just send your Sorcerers to Portals. That's where they shine the most, really. I am running, for Portals, I'm running Reliquin and Tsogvin. I tried Whirl of the Depths. I don't feel it's good. Like, a lot of people like to run light armor in portals because you need more penetration, but I just like Reliquin is so strong it outperformed any light armor set I tried despite not having enough penetration. So I really like Reliquin in portals. And then Kilt isn't very good, I believe, in portals. You can try to run it, but the problem is the Frostwell. So when you drop Frostwell, it will start hitting people with little flying thingies, and those drop Kilt stacks. Just gotta be careful about those. I drop Storm Atro here on landing, we get a Pillager Horn, so I will have another Storm Atro ready for the portals when it comes. So you can see my ult is charging up. Now portals open, but what we're doing is we're delaying. Okay, if you have enough damage to kill in portals, you don't need to enter early. And this, I feel this makes things a lot safer. In the past, we're trying to enter early, but if you can delay it, try to delay it as much as possible and get more damage on the dragon. And if you get more damage on the dragon, that way you will make skipping a portal more likely. Okay, so as long as you have enough damage in portal to kill comfortably, then try to focus more damage upstairs. So you see me cast my skills, and ideally what I try to do is I drop Storm Atronach before entering. So I want to drop Storm Atro onto the group to give them the major Berserk buff from the Storm Atro, but I actually don't do it in this specific pool because I probably panicked a little bit and I entered a little bit late due to that time stop that slowed me down. So I don't be casting any scales. There's 2 seconds left on portal opening. If I miss this portal, I'm throwing Godslayer. I don't want to do that. Okay, so I just enter without dropping Atro, but this was a mistake. So normally I would like to drop Atro on the group. Okay, now I enter. Cast Spray. Now I drop the Atronach. Ideally, I would probably drop it a little bit later. I want to make sure we're close. Now someone took the Storm Atro, and I was... Oh no, now it's just okay, so that's fine. I missed that Skittle actually there. And those, by the way, those green circles, they're a huge buff. They're a massive buff. I think people are underestimating how strong those synergies are. No, it's not a synergy. So it's whenever someone is upstairs and they get stunned by the time stop, it sends this green circle into the portal. And this green circle gives you it's how much is it? It's like I don't remember now, but I think it's between 3 and 5,000 weapon and spell damage. Like it's a huge. Okay, it's massive. Um and it really, really helps with DPS. Like when I get those Skittles, we call them Skittles. My DPS in Portal is like plus minus between 5 and 7,000 DPS. Okay, depending on how much I get, how many of those circles I get. If I get 0, I'm doing like 5,000 damage less. Um, it's massive. Okay, so like really, really try to get those Skittles in for your Portal guys. take those time stops upstairs. Oh, and by the way, one thing I forgot to mention is that in here, sustain is very important in portals. So I tried running health food, but I feel like it's just not safe, to be honest. Like, what is more important is to ensure you have enough resources. So I need Magicka to heal myself, because I'm healing with Crit Surge and Echoing Vigor. So I do that also to help the group a little bit, get a few more healing ticks. And you need stamina to block and roll dodge. So if you're running out of stam, it's better to just go on parse food. So what I do is I run lava food, so stamina recovery food, and I'm running magicka potions actually, because as a sorcerer, you give the spell crit chance buff. So that's minor prophecy. That's 6% crit chance. Okay. And if I were to run the weapon power potions, those crits would not stack. So the spell crit with the weapon crit does not stack. So that's why I'm running magicka potions instead. Okay, so magicka will give me spell crit. Yeah, and I'm running weapon damage and chance, but if you have crit surge or degeneration or igneous weapons from a DK tank, then it's fine because you get both the spell damage and the weapon damage buffs. So I'm stacking weapon damage with spell crit. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So that's why the blue potions. The blue potions are just for the crit, and I get 6% extra crit chance. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. If you were to have a, what is it, Nightblade? I think Nightblade is the one that gives the weapon crit, but we don't have a Nightblade in Portals. So if you were to have a Nightblade in Portals, then you can use the other potions as well. That's fine. So I get a negate field. When you get a negate field, you cannot cast magicka abilities, but you can still cast stamina abilities. So I would recommend to do. You can keep casting, or you can like quickly cast Vigor. But what I do, like the negate field is quite dangerous. It can deal a lot of damage. So what I like to do is just not cast any skills, and make sure I sprint. You can cast skills that aren't channeled, but I'm using Lethal Arrow and I'm using Crystal Fragments. So those are skills that have a cast time and they will slow you down. So I like to stop casting them and just sprint out to ensure safety. But if I were to cast something like Crit Surge or Volatile Familiar or the Heal or Prey, right? So something that has an instant cast, you can do it while sprinting. So that's fine. Or like you release sprint, cast the skill, and press sprint again. Okay? Right, so I just sprint out of the negate quickly and roll dodge the heavy attack. Make sure you sidestep the lightning skittles, and we stack. So there was a bit of there's a little bit of a thing that I don't like. If you're too close to him and you get pinned, he's gonna knock you back. So you really want to try to keep your distance. So this circle where I'm standing right now, I believe is too close. So ideally I would be standing a bit further away. Now, one of my teammates gets pinned and they get unpinned quickly. And I believe this will make them likely to get knocked back. Let's see. No, didn't get knocked back. But if he was just a little bit closer, they would get knocked back and like staggered. So ideally, if your teammate gets pinned close to the boss, do not unpin them instantly. Okay, wait like 1 second to ensure that there's no knockback. Because as soon as the boss starts to channel, the knockback occurs, but it only happens like once. Maybe I'll get to showcase it again. We're dealing damage here. More pins happening. Yeah, so you see my teammate there on the left. So that person just got pinned close to the boss and got unpinned quickly. So see where he is? The one that's further to the left. Standing there, and I unpin him. I don't know how I unpinned that person. That's Zahu. I don't know how I unpinned Zahu instead of Buzz, where I'm literally standing on top of Buzz. So I unpin him early, and then he gets knocked back right there. See? So if I had waited just a little bit longer, he would not get knocked back. I'll come in and bash. And drop. Cast my heal. So right before lightning, I try to cast the heal on the group. We might want to stop damage a little bit sooner. See how it goes. Yeah, so we're basically waiting for upstairs to deal enough damage to the dragon to get him to try to spawn the next portal. So the first portal spawns at 90%, the second portal spawns at 70%. So if the upstairs group gets the dragon to 70% while you're still in portal, you will skip a portal. Okay? I don't know if that's clear, but basically what happened like at around this point, the group, maybe the dragon has just landed, right? So they're pushing him, the dragon is at 80% and they're dealing damage. So we're waiting. We're waiting for the upstairs call. The raid leader will say, you can finish now. Right? So we're waiting. When the call comes in, we finish the boss. So we try to stop damage at around the 1 million health or 700,000, 800,000, something like that. Stop the damage, and then just wait. Okay. Once upstairs tells you you can finish the boss, you finish, and let's see if we get it. I believe we got it this time. There's a slam. Always be careful of slams when you come upstairs. Yeah, so you see the dragon is right now at 67% health, which means we got past the 70% health threshold. So the portal that would have spawned at 70% will not spawn. So that's a skipped portal. That's how you skip portals. Now we drop Storm Atro. I try to drop Storm Atro as soon as I come out of portals. It will not get its full use. You see the dragon is just about to fly. But I really don't know of a better place to drop it. I just drop it there and then... Because for the next landing, like as soon as the next phase comes in, you will get enough ult back to just drop it again. So like, might as well do something. Maybe I could drop Dawnbreaker here, I guess. Or even Atro for the group buff. I honestly don't know. Just try to make use of your ultis. Don't hoard your ult. We got a little bit of an enrage there. Make sure to block that. When you get that shield charge, you need to make sure you block that. Oh, okay, well, it doesn't kill. But it can knock you back. It can stun you if something bad happens. Then it's a bit annoying. By the way, you can block these. So you see that circle? This circle right here that's around the statue and the large circle on the left edge. If you stand in that and you block it, it will proc your ult gen buff. We can generate your ultimate there, like that. If you just want a little bit more ult. Dragon's Landing, cast our dots, as always. Propatro, and we fight. So we killed the first portal, we skipped the second portal. Now third portal is about to come up. You don't delay the third portal. Okay? If you miss the skip on the second portal, you can try to delay the next one, like always delay, so that you push more damage on the dragon to make the next skip more likely. Because we gotta skip, we just enter as soon as possible. We're trying to kill this as quickly as possible. There's no more the damage stop. The only time you want to stop damage in this case is if there's currently Firestorm happening upstairs and you kill Portal and you come upstairs and you just die to Firestorm because you're not hiding behind the statue. So if you see Firestorm is happening or if there's a call for Firestorm, make sure you don't come up. You wait for Firestorm to end. Okay, after this heavy attack, there's always two heavy attacks, and then there's pins. So after this heavy attack, there's gonna be a pin. I know Buzz is struggling to one pin there. He almost threw a fit, but thankfully got it there. Oh boy, the amount of Godslayers we lost due to unpins not working. I don't even want to, like, you're standing on top of the person desynced, because it happens when you're sprinting or like when you're moving too fast. Then your actual unpin hitbox is somewhere completely different. You see, it says Firestorm begins now. Firestorm ends in 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. So once Firestorm ends, you can come up. If you see Firestorm happening, do not come up or you will die. So the last tick of Firestorm is when it says Firestorm ends in the last tick. After that, you're fine to come. And yeah, just execute. So 40% onwards, we just finished Navi here. Here, the most dangerous part for DDs is going to be meteors. Make sure you spread those out evenly. So left side and right side. Ideally, it would be the same sides as you have on Locustes and the Omicron. Like if you, I'm right side. So if I were to get meteor, I would sprint to the right, drop it there. I see we're getting a lot of meteors on the left. People, for some reason, just really like to drop it on the left, and then there's way too many meteors there. But I don't get any. So yeah, so if you get a meteor, just go to that side. Make sure you block it. Make sure you don't confuse meteors with slams. Like that would ever happen. Yeah. And yeah, that's Godslayer. I'll just let this play because reactions. You always love. We were progging this for a very long time. I think this group was infamous for the longest progression Godslayer, I think, with the most throws on Navintas. So this was my third Godslayer. But the first time I got Godslayer, the first time we made it to Navintas without a death, we got it. Right? So we just killed Navi first try. The moment we made it to it without a death. In this group, Progression Union, I think we threw on Navi at least like, I don't know, 15 times. It was a bit insane. So obviously the group was very excited. And Dahu almost died to a heart attack. Where's the... There we go.
Go. Focus up.
Let's fucking
go!
Easy!
Let's fucking go!
Let's
Easy.
fucking go!
Nice.
Go!
Oh
Easy.
my fucking god!
Finally!
Finally,
Ah!
Thank you, Kitty, for your sacrifice.
oh my fucking god! Player that
Oh.
stupid fucking barrier.
Dude,
I was
oh,
done.
I saw someone ran into fucking slab.
I did, but I dodged it immediately. I did. I fucking did. I dodged it immediately. Oh my
I did.
fucking god!
I need a break. I need.
Oh my fucking shaking.
Oh, bro.
So quick IR?
Congratulations,
Fuck
guys.
you, man.
Wait.
God knows we all fucking
Oh
deserve
my
it.
fucking god!
Why is that?
Holy shit, dude! Oh.
Okay, that's enough. So yeah, Zahu almost had a heart attack. This was... I joined this group a little bit later, but I believe the full progression time was about 9 months. Okay, 9 months. Insane. Props to the guys for the absolute huge amounts of patience sticking with it. But yeah, most... I don't know, dude. Like we swapped so many members. We were so close for so long. You know, it's so weird. Like we had 35 out of 36 for months and just couldn't get it. There was always something happening, just some weird stuff. Then there was also this issue with the block bug. We were progging during the block bug patch, which was, I don't know if you guys remember or not, but there was a problem where if you roll dodged while blocking, it would drop your block and you had to release it and press it again. And this would also happen whenever you did a channeled skill. It would drop your block. So people were just not used to that, and there was so much muscle memory. Like if you're playing for years without that issue, and then suddenly it starts happening. So there was that thing, and then after that patch, there was a patch which fixed this bug, but introduced another one, which would occasionally, when you swapped gear, made your block completely not work, which was also great. So the only way to get rid of that, I think you had to either leave the instance or reset the instance. I don't remember. It was kind of insane, and people were just like dying to missed blocks all the time. But yeah, that was the run. That was great, honestly. It's always, like it gets frustrating when you're progging trifectas and then people start quitting and they're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And then there's that one point eventually where you make it and that like all the frustration goes away and everybody's like, oh, okay, it was all worth it. So yeah. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully this has helped you a little bit. And best of luck in your Godslayer hunts. See ya.